Welcome to Tobar's Realm. Today I'm going to start the process of making this fantasy armor helmet. And I just kind of threw together a little bit of patterns here just to get a starting spot. It's not much to look at, but I think it'll be enough for me to get started. So I'm going to start in the back and cut that piece out of 18 gauge sheet metal. Okay, off to a decent start. Really just needed to get a physical piece started because the patterns just don't work good enough for that. So this isn't too bad. I think I'm gonna make the top the same line as the bottom. It's a little too pointy, so I'm gonna trim it down so that that arc of the edge is the same as the bottom. We'll trim that off and then start on the second piece. It'll go on the top. Okay, so I got the top of that trimmed to match the line of the bottom of it. Now moving on to the next piece. So I just trace that line onto this, and then it almost needs to make like not quite a 90, but approximately. So I'm gonna trim that off, but I'll leave like 5/8 extra on the side because that's what I'll bend over to rivet these together. So I'm gonna start getting this next piece ready. Alright, continuing on the top here, I got that first one sized and that bend over there to rivet that together. Now I'm working on the next piece. Gotta get it fine-tuned, and right here at the edge is where the horns are going to be approximately, so I'm going to continue fine-tuning this fit. Alright, I got the next piece pretty much shaped out here, just taped together so I can hold them in position. So now to start down the front, instead of putting a kind of a hard angle on it, I rounded this one. We'll see how it ends up. So I'm going to bend this around and it'll come down. Obviously these are the eye holes, so just need to start getting this one formed. Alright, well I pretty much got this one sized. I was going to put it on the outside like that, but I need to come in because this is where the horns are going to attach, so I'm not sure if I like it yet or not, but I think next I need to figure out the horns before I get too far along on this other stuff, so I'm going to start on that. Alright, so I'm just working on the horns, and the way I've found it works pretty good to make a pattern for something like this is I just use duct tape and packing paper, make it the shape I want, then I can just cut the tape, use that as the template for my pattern. So I'm just gonna get this transferred over to the metal and cut out, and I think I'll make it kind of like a clamshell and then weld it together and just sand off the weld so it'll look like one piece. I don't think I could rivet it together on the inside. That'd be pretty difficult. Alright, so just getting these horns kind of finished out with the main shaping. They're not perfect. Pretty close. Close enough, I think, where I can start tack welding this together, and then I can kind of adjust it once I can kind of hold it together. And like this is pretty far apart, but once I get this welded, I should be able to pull that in, and some spots where there's a gap I can just fill it in with welds and hope I don't melt through this thin sheet metal. Let's start on that. Alright, I got the parts that fit together pretty good tacked together, and now I'm just gonna kind of work to try and get that seam closer together. Alright, so making good progress on these horns. I got them welded pretty good. It's tough on that 18 gauge, but I think they turned out right. I sanded off all the welds on this one. This part I'll need to go touch up with a new weld, but it's looking pretty good. So I'll sand this one off, see if there's any other spots that are kind of like this one, fix them and regrind them, and then these should be pretty good to go. Okay, so I got the horns basically ready to go. Turned out pretty decent, I'd say. So now that I have these, I can move on to trying to figure out these side pieces. These will get attached right underneath here, so start doing that. Alright, so I just tacked this together with one rivet in each piece just so it's essentially where it's going to be. Kind of working on the sides and how to get the horns on there. So I think what I'm going to do next is work on kind of forming this piece here where the horns are going to attach. I'll probably have to modify this piece a little bit. But I'm going to take a couple of these rivets out, get this piece out, and start messing around with getting this size to the horn. And I can trim off some of the horn too on the inside. I just need enough that'll be held on there good, and figure out the exact lineup of these pieces. Then I'll have to figure out some reinforcement parts around the sides, but that's where I'm at. So let me get this apart and start messing with this. Okay, so I just got the horns kind of in place there. I got beginning of the face, top of the face going. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting close. But now I'm gonna work on figuring out the sides. The ones I have are also close, but that's where I'm at now. So just need to adjust this pattern to go around the horn, and I'll cut the inside of the horn off so it's kind of flush with this outside, and then add some reinforcement trim to rivet them all together. So get this pattern lined out. Alright, I'm getting pretty close on this side piece, but it's still not locked down as good as it needs to be to get it just right. I just got a bunch of duct tape on here, but it's not good enough. So I think I'm going to go and put some more copper rivets in here to hold it nice and steady while I get this side pieces figured out here. I can't quite get it right with it moving around, so I'm going to do that. Alright, finally making some progress here. I've got these side pieces tacked in place. There's a little bit of a gap, but I think I'll pull it up when I rivet it together. These side pieces were harder to do than I anticipated. I'm not sure why. They're not very complicated. I think maybe I should have done around the bottom before I did the top. I think that gave me a hard time trying to get them to fit. So I also made this piece before I got the side pieces, and I don't really like how it ended up on the eyes up here, so I'm gonna make a new one and have it come up just a little bit. Basically the same, but adjust this top part a little bit. So I'm gonna work on the pattern for that. Alright, I got the new face piece pretty close. Not quite lined up yet. I'm gonna have to take these side pieces off and get the angle of these to match. So I'm gonna do that here in a minute. And then on the side, I think I'm gonna try to tie this line together because it's kind of blocking where the horn's gonna go anyway. So cut that to match. While I was making this, I accidentally started working on the old one a couple times. Should have moved it out of the way. So anyway, I'll get this, one of these sides taken off so I can get to it and get that angle of these to match. Alright, I got the front part pretty close. I'm gonna have to put rivets in it to tighten it down good. But before I do that, I need to put a crease in the bridge of the nose here to line these up. And before I do that, I need to figure out the angle to cut these horns at. So I just kind of eyeballing where that line's gonna need to go. So I'm gonna cut that off and hope for the best that I get it right. I'll kind of take less off so I get an idea if I'm on the right track, and then I'll fine tune it. So let's hope I don't screw these up. I don't want to have to make another one. Alright, I cut the ends of the horns off, and that's pretty good. That's pretty close. I can fine tune them again once I get a little bit further. But now I think I'm gonna take this forehead piece off and put that crease in there. And then after that, I'll probably start on figuring out how the reinforcements to attach these horns are gonna work out. But I'm happy that those turned out pretty good. Alright, moving forward here on the part to connect the horn. Just made this pattern that's going to be approximately like that. So I'm going to get this cut out and start forming it. Okay, I just finished up the first one of the horn mounts. That went pretty well. I've rolled the edges and chiseled the inside of it, so I think it's looking pretty good. Got it formed, so that'll rivet the horn and everything together. So start on the next one and get that other side done. Alright, I've been working on the pieces to connect the horns to the helmet. Those turned out pretty good. So I'll finish that up later. So now I'm working on the trim that's going to go down the center. I just kind of sketched an idea of where I want it to go and did some more measurements on some patterns here and started cutting it out of a strip here. So I'm just gonna start by putting the chiseled crease down the middle of the front, and then I'll kind of make it as I go. It'll be one piece that goes all the way from the front all the way around to the back. Alright, just finishing up the metal forming portion of this build. I got the strip that I'm going to put down the center, got it kind of tacked on in a few places, formed it pretty good. I'm going to drill some of the holes on some of these outer pieces so that once I put it together, I'll drill the inside holes. But for now, I'm going to get those holes figured out, take it apart, and roll the edge on the bottom of the around the circumference there, and then I think I will be just about ready to glue this thing. So I'm gonna work on that. Alright, I think I finished shaping all these pieces. I went and rolled the edge on all the bottom of it, the sides and the back and the front. Added some vent holes here in the front. And now I think I'm ready to just wire wheel all this stuff and then get ready to glue it by heating it up with the weed burner and spraying it with WD-40 and then assembly. So I'm going to start cleaning that with the wire wheel.
Beep. 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 Beep.
Alright, so I got all these pieces glued. The filming of that did not go very well, but I got it done. And I'm going to use these brass rivets to rivet this together. I think that'll look nice with the black. So I'm going to start with the horns, since I won't be able to get to these once I put the helmet together. So I'm going to start on these first. Alright, I got the horns attached. That's looking pretty good with the brass and the black. So I think I'm going to do the top and the back together next, and then put it with the top. So get some of these going. Alright, so far so good. I guess I'm about halfway approximately, but it's going pretty well so far, so just continuing on. Alright, making good progress getting that strip down the middle of it done. Not quite all the way, gotta finish up the back, but I think it's looking pretty good. Alright, all done. It's a pretty fun build. Pretty challenging, not super challenging, but making the patterns up from scratch can be difficult. A lot of trial and error to get it right, but I'm happy with it. Thanks for watching. Until next time.